ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ. Welcome to the segment of Khoj Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. We continue with recitations from Asa Kabir Ji, or compositions of Kabir Ji, this being the 13th in a series of 37 compositions in this rag. And one cannot but marvel at Kabir Ji's wordplay and the metaphor usage. This is laden with meaning. So let's proceed with a little caution here. The recitation first. Asa Haj Hamari Gomati Tir, जहां बसे पीतंबर पीर. वाहो वाहो क्या खूब गावता है, हर का नाम मेरे मन भावता है. रहाओ नारद सारद करहें खवासी, पास बैठी बीबी कवला दासी. कंठे माला जहवा राम, सहंस नाम ले ले करो सलाम. कहत कबीर राम गुण गावो, हिंदू तुर्क दो समझाओ. कहत कबीर राम गुण गावो, हिंदू तुर्क दो समझाओ. So the last line is pretty obvious. Kabir Ji is addressing the Muslim as well as the Hindu, and essentially is telling them that the nature of devotion is universal. There are no specific ways. That is another way of saying also that all ways lead to the same truth. But devotion, pilgrimage in its truest sense, is an inner personal connection, an inner journey. So let's examine this line by line. He begins by saying, Haj Hamari, Haj Hamari. Hajj, of course, is the annual pilgrimage, Muslim pilgrimage to Mecca. So he's saying, I make that pilgrimage, but my pilgrimage to the Hajj, to do the Hajj, as well as Gomati, Gomati Tir. Tir here means Tirath, which is a pilgrimage. Gomati is the name of a river that is considered auspicious. It is in fact the site of pilgrimage. Pilgrims travel to it. So Kabir Ji has taken symbols and imagery from both Islamic and Hindu worlds, and he says to them, and he combines them, synthesizes them. He says, my pilgrimage consists in traveling, because Gomati, it is interesting to note, not only is the name of a river, but because it is a river, it actually signifies motion, traveling. So Kabir Ji is using the word Gomati in both of these senses here. He's saying my pilgrimage to the Hajj or to the Gomati consists in traveling, going to Gomati. Where? Jahan Baseh Pitambar Pir. Where Pitambar is the one that wears yellow robes. And this is a signifier for the god Vishnu in Hindu mythology. So for us, it is the self within, the Har, which is Vishnu again. So this is a symbol of the Creator within. So Kabir says, he's redeployed the standard meaning of Hajj and Gomati to say that in essence, true pilgrimage is the inner journey towards the indwelling self. Pitambar Pir. That is where, so we have to turn inwards from going to pilgrimages. Now, the question remains, should we not then go to a physical pilgrimage? That is really not what is being implied. What is being implied here is one can do whatever one chooses to do. The essential thing is the connection within. Because without the connection within, everything on the outside becomes meaningless in the sense that it is egoic. You have to look at the outside through a different lens, through the lens of the self, of the har. So one wouldn't say that you don't have to do this or don't have to do that. One has to remember that Gurbani is not laying out any kind of codified system that says do this or don't do that. We, of course, have translated a lot of this meaning to mean that in Sikhi there is absolutely no room for a physical pilgrimage. I think that there is room for any physical expression that you wish to make, except that you must be rooted in Naam. And now Kabirji in the Rahau explains this further. Waho, 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 waho. Again, this is a term used for the Guru. Waho, waho, a true. So the Guru, kya khoob, gavata hai. So the sound that this Guru makes is awesome. What is meant here is that inner space where we are traveling to is awesome. It's wondrous because, again, Kabirji uses the word gavata in both senses. Gavata also means a meadow, a green area, again signifying har. So, kya khoob gavata hai? He's saying here that when I travel to that inward space, I find it to be awesome. It's beautiful. It's wondrous. Har ka naam mere man bhavata hai. The presence of the Har self is mind transforming. Bhavata, again, we have to look at the word bhavata. Bhavata is a psychological state of the mind, a mood. And in the spiritual dictionary, bhavata is the initial stage of devotion, the initial stage of transformation. So when we go there, the first thing that happens when you see that inner space or feel the presence is that your mind begins to transform. Bhavata hai, emotions arise. The first emotion is the sprout of love, prema. That is the bhavana that arises. So this is what Kabirji is. He's actually laying out the map for us. Bhavata hai, you begin to transform. Then what happens there? Narad sarad karhe khawasi, paas बैठी बीबी कवला dasi. Now you see, all of these words are images that are very familiar to a Hindu mind, to an Indian mind. We all know Narad, we know Sarad, we know Kavala Bibi. These are symbols of Vishnu and symbols of deities that everyone is familiar with. So Kabirji is using the language of the familiar, as the Gurus have done. So Narad Sarad Kare Khawasi. Now, Narad, as we all know, is a deity, is a god, so to speak, a deity, who is also one of the 10 mind-born sons of Brahma. It is a mental construct of Brahma. a quality of Brahma, so to speak. So what does it stand for? Brahma is supposed to have created Narad as a sadhaka, as an aspirant, as a devotee, one who is devoted. So Brahma is supposed to have created Narad out of his lap, Utthasanga. And Narad travels throughout the material and spiritual worlds doing what? Broadcasting glories of the self. So Narad is a symbol of our aspiration, our devotion, our praise. So there, in that space, you become a devotee. Narad. Then Sarad. Sarad is Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge. There you are given knowledge. Narad Sarad Karah happens. Kavasi. Kavasi is being fed. But this word comes from the action of concentrating milk. In Punjabi, we say to make khoya. That's where kava, it comes from. The word khoya comes from kava, which means concentrated milk. So there, Narad Sarad Kare Khavasi, the devotee Narad, the aspirant Narad, is fed the knowledge in concentrated form. What does that mean, concentrated form? It means this is intuitive knowledge. It is not knowledge that comes through the senses. This is knowledge that is immediate, direct, concentrated. So the devotee Narad, the devotee you and me, if we turn around, receive that knowledge in concentrated form. Then what happens? Paas baithi bibi kavala dasi. Kavala is, in ordinary terms, Lakshmi, wealth. We all pursue wealth, but here it indicates the wealth of knowledge. Paas baithi. The word paas again has to be considered. It comes from pas or pasu. Pasu comes from pas. It means fixed, tied down. Paas baithi. Baithi is established. So what is it that is established? So through this concentrated knowledge, the mind is fixed. It is settled. Baithi. Bibi Kavala Dasi. Now, Bibi is an Islamic term for a woman who is ripened, who's married. So what that means is the mind is now ripe with knowledge. And when the mind is ripe with knowledge, Kavala Dasi. Kavala is the lotus, which is a symbol of spiritual realization, self-realization. That means the mind ripens with knowledge and then blooms. And then Dasi, it becomes a slave to hukam. That's the whole process. And then the devotee, Kanthe Mahala Jehva Ram. Now, if you ordinarily translate this, it means that you carry a rosary in your hand and you are repeating Ram. That's not what it really means. Kanthe, Kant, means the throat. It also signifies the Vishuddha Chakra in Hindu systems. You have to understand the background. What it means is, and that is in the location of the throat. The throat is the center of communication along with the tongue. So mala is a garland, a belt. So the throat and the tongue become unified to articulate Ram. You see? So when you do what we just talked about, concentrated knowledge for the devotee, the mind becomes fixed. Then the mind is able to express in refined speech. It wears the garland of refined speech, which means the truth. It articulates the truth. Sahens naam le le karo salam. Then, like Narad, it glorifies the self. It expresses its life through divine virtue. Sahens naam le le karo salam. So it is not a matter of just doing a rosary or uttering a mantra. It is that as well. So you see the layer upon layer of meaning that is being given here. When you begin to tell the rosary, in other words, when you begin to discipline and concentrate your mind, you need an external aid. And you do that. But eventually, you drop that. You start articulating the truth. And so Kabir in the end says, Kahat Kabir, Ram gun gavo, Hindu Turk do samajavo. My advice to the Muslim and to the Hindu is the same. Cultivate the virtue of Ram. In other words, self-realize and then self-actualize. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.